Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Shayna, and in my little corner of the internet, we talk about spooky history of all kinds. If that sounds like something you're interested in, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. My mom, that comes on here for the Mysteries with My Mom episodes, noticed that she stopped receiving notifications for when I upload, so she wanted me to make sure you all know to double check your notification bell because sometimes YouTube will remove them. So now that you've been updated, I also need to make you aware, if you're new here of course, that all of the audio of my videos are also in a podcast, so I will have the link down in the description for you. I apologize for my appearance. I was wanting to do my hair today, but we just got back from a soccer game, so I was like, you know what, whatever, right? So today we are going to be talking about something that's going on in Alaska and apparently has been going on for quite some time now. I love Alaska. I really want to go visit it someday. I love how it's part of the US but also not attached to the US, and you never really hear much from Alaska, so it seems like a peaceful place to go live in. But if you are from there or have been there, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you like it, what you don't like, all that kind of stuff, because I would like to visit it someday. But without further ado, let's talk about the Iliamna lake monster that is said to reside in Iliamna Lake. Iliamna Lake is known to be a large natural lake. However, it's not really a lake at all, but more like an inland sea, but it's still freshwater. I'm not sure how that works. I think it might be because of the size, like how big it is, how deep it is. Not 100% sure, but it is located in the southwestern part of Alaska. And the total surface of the lake is approximately 1,012.5 miles and is known to be the largest lake in Alaska and possibly even the country. The largest part of the lake is about 77 miles and has a maximum length of 22 miles. The deepest part of the lake comes to 988 feet deep with an average depth of 144 feet. It's also about 50 feet above sea level. Now, as most of you know, at least in the US, that Alaska is a pretty remote place. I think I read somewhere that it said that there are more black bears in Alaska than people, which I find insane, but also pretty cool. But because Alaska is so remote, in order to get access to Iliamna Lake, you have to take an airplane there. Now, the most common is people will travel there by using these float planes, and that way they can land directly on the lake and not have to worry about there being a runway on the land. There aren't any roads that connect the communities that surround the lake. The area surrounding the lake is very sparsely populated. Fishing and hunting is what makes this area of the world go round, honestly. Now, before the Russians came in to do their fur trading, the lake itself was claimed by Ina people. I'm sorry if I mispronounce these words. As most of you know, I'm not good at pronouncing words. So let's keep going. The earliest sightings of this creature came from the native Tlingit people. They would tell stories of a creature that they called the Gonakadet, and it was described as a large water-dwelling animal. It had a head and tail that was similar to a wolf. The body looked like an orca, and it was very similar to the auklet. Now, the auklet is an Inuit folklore that describes an orca-like composite animal that takes the form of a wolf when on land and is sometimes depicted as a wolf-orca hybrid. This thing looks very weird, let me tell you. It's like the Loch Ness Monster, but on steroids. Now, the creature the natives were seeing were depicted as a fish god. It would also be recorded in pictographs along the Alaskan and British Columbian coasts. There are also early reports that were given by the Aleut people, and they told stories of creatures that they called the Jig Iknek. And it's a fish-like monster that reported to travel in groups and attack canoes and would kill warriors. Now, these creatures were feared by the Aleut people, and the rumors of the monster being in this lake would pique the interest of pilots and fishermen. Now, there are many pilots that have flown over the lake and would see this massive beast in the water, but couldn't explain what it was. Then by the late 1950s, there were reports of these large, dull, and aluminum aluminum colored fish that were coming in. Then by 1979, the Anchorage Daily News would state in the local paper that there was an offer of $100,000 to anyone who could provide conclusive evidence proving the fish's existence. But no one could, so no one was able to claim the money. The sightings would begin to slow down over the years, but I'm going to read directly from the site that talks about these witness testimonies. So if you want to see where I got it from, I'll have the link to the site below. So here's what it says, and I quote, 1942. Babe Ellsworth and Bill Hammersley were on a direct flight over the lake, traveling to the village of Iliamna. Bush pilot Ellsworth, flying his Stinson ferry plane, was crossing over the deep blue-black water when he noticed some unusual specks in the water near an unnamed island in the middle of the lake. As the craft moved closer to the specks, Ellsworth was able to see that these were actually giant fish, and he swirled the plane around for a closer look. Both Hammersley and Ellsworth were able to get a good look on the second pass and described what they saw was dull aluminum in color, with heads that were broad and blunt. The width of their long tapered bodies was the same as that of their heads, and the vertical tails slowly waved side to side. This aspect of the description is important as whale tails go up and down, while fish and reptile tails go side to side. Spiraling the plane down from 1,000 feet to 300 feet to get a better look, they saw that Ellsworth's original estimate of the creature's length, 10 feet, was low. The several dozen giant fish were easily longer than the plane's pontoon, and according to the men, looked more like mini submarines than fish. They circled the area until the creatures disappeared in a surge of water. As the men continued on their journey, they discussed and debated over what they saw, pointing out that it could not have been a whale due to the tail movement and the fact that the creatures never surfaced for air. Then in 1947, after leaving his defense job, Hammersley published a short piece on the mystery fish in an attempt to get others to investigate the matter or to come forward with reports. Larry Ross, a U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey pilot, was one of those who came forward. Flying across Lake Iliamna in the fall of 1945 at the height of 100 feet, Ross reportedly saw what he claimed to be a giant fish, more than 20 feet long, the color of dull aluminum. And then in 1963, biologists reported seeing a 25 to 30 foot fish from overhead. It did not come up for air. Then in 1967, Alaska missionary named Chuck has seen the monster twice. Once he was flying over in a float plane and he saw a large animal in the water. He got on the radio and tried to call some other people around to try to see and verify it, but nobody got there in time. One of his friends went trolling for it. He took a 5 to 16 stainless steel cable, put number 2 tuna hooks on it, baited them with caribou, and tied it off on the struts of his float plane. He was drifting and sitting out on the floats when the plane gave a big jerk and knocked him off the floats. The plane was towed around the lake. When he finally recovered the plane, 3 of the cables were gone. The hooks on the ones that remained were straightened out, and these hooks were 8 or 9 inches long. Then in 1977, a veteran pilot named Tim Laporte, while flying over Pedro Bay, he spots a 12 to 14 foot fish on the surface as it dove down, revealing a vertical tail. One was a visiting Michigan Fish and Game official, witnessed the beast make a big arching splash and dive straight down as the plane got closer. Tim remembers watching the animal's large vertical tail moving. Tim and his 2 passengers estimated the creature to be roughly 12 to 14 feet in length with dark gray or dark brown skin. Then in 1987, resident Verna reported seeing a large black fish with a white stripe down its fin. Then in 1988, several locals report the same sighting from water and land, a large black fish with a fin swimming near the surface. End quote. Some crazy stuff, let me tell you. I mean, that fish jerked that plane so hard that that guy got knocked off of it. And then his plane just gets towed all around the lake. I mean, how does that even happen? That's crazy. That is a big fish. Yeah, it's a big fish. Now, well, if you've been watching my videos recently, you know that I have been obsessing over Expedition X. Love that show. It's got that host Josh Gates, and he sends his people, Phil and Jess, out to investigate stories similar to these. They were able to discover that this lake has tons of fish, especially salmon. So they came to the conclusion that this lake is big enough and has enough food supply in order to be the home of a huge monster fish. Now also, something that I did forget to mention that I remembered is that this fish attacks boats that has a red bottom to it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, Jeremy Wade, he was the fisherman in the show River Monsters. It's really an interesting show to watch. I don't know what it's on. I know it's on Prime. I think it might also be on Discovery. Not 100% on that. But he did go and investigate this monster as well. I'll try to play some clips of the episode. I'm hoping I don't get a copyright, but we'll try. But Jeremy went to Alaska and listened to these people's stories. Now, this one guy told him that there was a man that he worked with and he went fishing for trout. Now, if I remember correctly, the fish kept breaking the line. So he went and got a super thick line and tied it to this big tree stump that was right up to the lake, and he left it. And there was a neighbor that was close to where the guy left his fishing line, and he saw the same tree trunk floating in the water, moving in the lake, and it was going against the current. So how crazy is that? I mean, this was a big tree stump. That's one big fish. Now, with Jeremy listening to these testimonies, he came to the conclusion that it must be a white sturgeon that's living in the lake. Now, these are the largest freshwater fish in North America and can weigh over 1,500 pounds and can be at least 20 feet long and can live for over 100 years. Sturgeons are known to be bottom-dwelling fish, so they believe that's why the sightings of them are so rare. However, there has never been any evidence that a sturgeon has been in Iliamna Lake. So some people believe that it could be a sturgeon. Many people report their propellers being damaged and that it looks like teeth marks, but that could be the boat running over the back of a sturgeon if it's trying to surface, because their backs have these teeth-like armor plating on them. So it could make it appear like a fish was attacking the boat propeller with its teeth, but could just be the back making the marks. Then the stories of the boat being rammed and people being knocked out of them, some believe that this could be the sturgeon trying to jump out of the water and accidentally hitting the boats. You know, I mean, it's possible, but why does it only attack boats that have red bottoms? It doesn't make sense, you know? It's kind of weird, but I want to know what you all think. I believe that there is something there. The lake is big enough and has a huge food supply. So it's very possible that something could be living in the lake that people don't see on a regular basis, whether it's a sturgeon or some creature that we're just not aware of. I'm not sure, but it's still pretty interesting nonetheless. I hope you all enjoyed this little episode. If you did, be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. I hope you all have a very blessed week, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.